The Redmi series of phones is, in my opinion, the most disappointing launch we've had of 2021 thus far, if you are looking for a great value all around phone. Hey guys, it's Mitchell. We just had the Redmi K40 series announcement. I've been talking to quite a few of you guys on my Discord server and in my Telegram community about your thoughts and feelings of the Redmi K40 series of devices. And as much as I want to say I am disappointed about the phone overall, I think that we have a really strong idea of where Redmi is going with their K series in general, why you shouldn't be disappointed about their devices, and more importantly, whether or not you as the end consumer want to buy this device or not. So actually, this is the third time I've tried to record this video. I recorded most of this while I was on my vacation, but unfortunately, because of windy conditions, I had to scrap it because the audio sucked. But I hope you guys appreciate some of the Xiaomi Mi 10 footage that I sprinkle in here for you guys. Now, first and foremost, I want to get this out of the way. Just because I said that I am personally a little bit disappointed by this launch, it doesn't mean that these are bad devices. It doesn't mean that these are poor value devices. It doesn't even mean that you should or shouldn't get this device. And specifically, the reason why I think that this is a disappointment for just a lot of overall smartphone consumers is because we now understand that Redmi is using their K series of phones as its gaming line of devices. And the reality is that only a small percentage of people are hardcore mobile gamers. And the reality is that I think that for the majority of like hardcore gaming enthusiasts and people that want the most powerful chipset overall, these series of devices are not disappointing at all. In fact, I think that the Redmi K40 series offers the most horsepower for the cheapest price. Unfortunately, I think in a couple of key areas that the average smartphone consumer wants to upgrade their device, it is a disappointment. But let's jump into that. Now, right off the top, the Redmi K40, just the basic K40, offers the Snapdragon 870, which is essentially a Snapdragon 865 Plus Pro. It's an overclocked Snapdragon 865 CPU and GPU combination, but the compromises that it makes are pretty big. Before we talk about those compromises, let's talk about the rest of these specs. It has a 120 Hertz Full HD AMOLED display. It's the Samsung E4 display, which is one of the top of the line, most premium displays that you can get on a phone. And it is fantastic. 1300 nits of peak brightness. This is in every way, shape, and form a flagship display. And it is one of the best displays that we can get on a smartphone right now. It has dual firing stereo speakers, which are a big plus for gamers and people that want to consume a lot of media. It features a glass and metal build along with a triple camera array, although the quality of those cameras is definitely a compromise that we'll talk about. But it has a glass and metal design, and it has all of the aesthetic features outside of a curved display that would make the average user think that it's a premium device. And all of the components on the inside are premium from last year. UFS 3.1 storage, LPDDR5 RAM. It's got a 4500 milliamp hour battery with 33 watt charging. And this is a compromise that we've seen across the K series lineup. Unfortunately, the Redmi K40 series is using the Redmi K30 series of fast charging. This is something that I predicted in my rumors video that I did a couple weeks ago, and ultimately we are seeing zero advancement in charging tech among the K40, K40 Pro, or K40 Pro Plus. And this means that you're going to be stuck with a single cell battery, 33 watt wired charging, and because of the slightly smaller size of the battery compared to the Redmi K30 Pro from last year, you're gonna be able to charge this device in under an hour. So although it doesn't have the newest charging tech, and you're not going to be able to take advantage of any of the GAN 55 watt or 65 watt chargers that Xiaomi is offering with the Mi 11, you are getting a respectable charging speed. Really, the biggest compromise of the K40 non-Pro Plus is the camera. And it is actually the camera from the Redmi K20, not the K20 Pro. It is the IMX582, which is a 48 megapixel camera. It's smaller in size than the IMX686, and it is not able of recording 4K 60. You're capped at 4K 30, which isn't that big of a downgrade since Xiaomi doesn't even offer 4K 60 with EIS. This is okay, but the reality is that you're gonna be getting the same picture quality that you got from a $280 Xiaomi phone from 2 years ago. The next device in the lineup has the Snapdragon 888, UFS 3.1 storage, the same screen, LPDDR5 RAM, the same 33 watt charging tech, except you're replacing the Snapdragon 870 with the 888, which is a considerable jump in performance. Instead of getting the IMX582, you're getting the IMX686, which is the sensor from last year's Redmi K30 Pro lineup. Now, this is a totally fine sensor. It is not a flagship sensor, and I noticed in my comparisons between my Redmi K20 Pro and K30 Pro that the difference in performance between these two sensors was minimal. It wasn't that big of a jump. Using Gcam on both of the devices at low light, I saw a minimal jump in performance of the Redmi K30 Pro, and overall, I think that if you are looking for a better camera, the Redmi K30 Pro wasn't a big jump from the Redmi K20 Pro. That said, with the price point that the Redmi K40 Pro is coming in at, you were expecting Redmi to cut corners in some places. Now, to go up to the Redmi K40 Pro Plus gets you the 108 megapixel Samsung HM2 sensor. And actually it just gets you the same camera from the Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G that was released in China. It's the HM2 sensor, and it's the OmniVision 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, which again, these are totally adequate and totally fine cameras, but on a $600-ish device, 550, let's say, $600 if you want to get the higher storage variants. It's not what I would call a flagship camera. And it's not even what Xiaomi would call a flagship camera, because it's the camera from their middle of the line Redmi device. So if you're okay getting a camera that you can find in a sub-ish $300 device in your $550 or $600 device, then that's totally fine. And the next area that I wanted to touch on was charging tech. Now, the Snapdragon 865 supported dual cell batteries. We saw this tech implemented on the Xiaomi Mi 10 Ultra. We saw this tech implemented on the Black Shark 3 that Xiaomi also gave us. And this fits along with the Qualcomm Quick Charge 5.0 standard, which allows you to utilize chargers like this RAV Power 65 watt USB-C GAN charger that also has the USB-A compatibility. If you guys want to see a video reviewing this charger, I think this is one of the best chargers that you can buy right now in this transition period between USB-A and USB-C for all of your cables. This will support you in the legacy, in the future kind of stuff. Now, I wouldn't care about this at all, really, if it wasn't for the fact that we know that Redmi is going to be selling a K40 without a charger, or there will be that available in China, which to me is a little bit, how do I say this? It's kind of disappointing, because if you get a device and you just get the GAN charger, or if you have another USB-C power delivery charger, the maximum charging speed that Xiaomi's 33-watt Mi turbocharge will support is 18 watts. You have to use the factory supplied 33-watt charger if you want to take advantage of that. So we see that charging is another kind of big place that Xiaomi decided to cut corners. Now this is why I said that I was a little bit disappointed, but at the same time, I know a lot more about this product. Up until this point, a lot of people looked at the Redmi K series of phones as the Redmi flagship killer phone. But in a lot of ways, we see that the only flagship feature that Redmi is deciding to kill with the Redmi series of phones is the SoC and the screen, along with, I guess, potentially the stereo speakers. But as you guys can see, that is really focused on gaming. Personally, if I'm the average consumer coming from a $250 Redmi Note 9 Pro or a Redmi Note 7 Pro, the biggest place that I want to see my devices take a catastrophic leap forward would be in their battery life, which the Redmi K40 Pro is not going to be doing. It has a more power hungry chip, more power hungry display, and the battery size shrank from the previous model. I want to have a device that's going to charge faster than those previous devices, which it's going to be less power efficient, and it's going to have the same charging speed. And to be honest with you, some of the Redmi phones of lower tier utilize 27-watt charging. So again, this isn't a huge jump in performance, right? And then camera. Camera is easily one of the most important and most easily visible changes that users compare their new phone to their old phone. And it's something that for a lot of Xiaomi owners of previous devices, they were getting amazing camera hardware at a relatively low price. And unfortunately, if you're upgrading to any of the Redmi K series of devices now, and it seems like even in the future, the thing that you can count on is that they are not going to be offering flagship level cameras in any of their K series of devices. So although your performance generation over generation will probably be improving, at the same time, we're not going to see these massive improvements at the K series level because it's not meant to be an all-around great phone. But what I want to know is what you guys think about it. Do you find the Redmi K series of phones to be disappointing? Do you only care about the CPU and the screen? And more importantly, a bigger question that I want to ask my overall audience, is there more to a flagship phone than the CPU and the screen? What all goes into making it a flagship? Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Links to where you can join my Discord are in the description down below. Thanks for using my affiliate links and supporting me. And until next time, peace.